Hello and welcome to Trojan Talk. I'm your host, Aaron Taylor. With me today is Jessica Moran and Shannon Bales, here to talk about kids at college. I want to thank you both for joining me here today.
Thank you.
And we're talking about kids at college. This is an opportunity, kind of a summer camp for kids through the College of Education. Tell us a little about this Kids at College and what it is.
Okay, so with the research background, we know that kids can lose some knowledge in reading and math, and with the STEM and STEAM aspects of it, we hope that they will come and be energized and want to learn. We will have robotics, coding, STEM challenge, and John Weiss, our NASA educator, who will run the robotics and coding. Then we'll have our STEM challenge. You want to talk about that?
And kids at college, the STEM challenge, and an opportunity for kids to come here on campus and learn about STEM and the importance of STEM and kind of a fun educational environment. And you talked about this STEM and the challenge. This sounds really cool. One of the things they'll get to do is playing with robots. So that's kind of a little kid's dream, has got to be being able to play with robots and tell them what to do. So tell us about this challenge. So
the mission this summer is going to be called Powering Up Our Future City. So students are going to come and they are going to create an entire city that revolves around solar power, hydropower, wind power, and biomass. And then at the very end for their presentations, they will actually code a robot that travels around the city to the different parts and tells about it.
So an opportunity to tell a robot what to do in this camp. And you mentioned there coding, robotics, but there are a lot of different elements involved in this camp, and that's, I guess, designed to create some diversity in their education. Kind of tell us about some of the elements they're going to be learning, the variety of things they may be learning in the camp. So
Right. So with the Future City, you'll get to combine reading, math, science, technology, engineering, all those components, and then we'll have Dr. Brian Cerny, who will come along and do some American Sign Language. As we call it, moving to American Sign Language, and it'll be just vocabulary, basic vocabulary that they could use in their presentations at the end of the camp.
And that's a part of it too. You're talking about robotic language and another form of language. And one might think that that's something that, especially with a young mind, is expanding their opportunities. And especially, you know, one might think, oh, it's a STEM camp. What does sign language have to do with it? But it's just another educational aspect, I would think, right?
It's right. And you never know, in the real world, when you become an engineer, you might work with somebody. You have to communicate through ASL.
And teamwork is a big thing.
Yes, it is.
And that's a part of this, because the way y'all talking about this, a lot of this is building on teamwork and teaching students how to work together. Is that something you would think that's important, is teaching those teamwork skills?
Absolutely. You know, when people think about STEM, and this is a huge buzzword nowadays, some people are afraid of this word because they just think about engineering. Oh, I'm not an engineer. But really, STEM is an approach to learning. It's about problem solving, and anyone can benefit from that. And so these students, as well as adults that do STEM, what they're learning here are those 21st century skills: collaboration, teamwork, communication, and things like that.
And the need for STEM education, if there was evidence enough of it, it's this camp, because you originally had a goal and you surpassed that goal, correct? So talk about that and the interest of this.
Okay, so we had a goal of just 100 campers because of the volunteers and limited amount of facilitators, and then those who are confident enough to facilitate STEM. And so now we were almost at 200 participants.
So one would say that is an indicator that there's interest and a need to teach this out in the community.
Yes, absolutely.
And so now, Kids at College, some people may remember, it's like, this sounds familiar, this is a new thing. And you mentioned it there too, because this is something that's coming back. Because you have had prior experience. You mentioned you were a participant and a teacher.
I was a participant and a teacher while I was a student here at Troy.
So how did that shape you as being a participant and also a teacher while you were here?
Well, if we rely on what research says, early exposure to the college campus promotes lifelong learners, whether it become a college student or a student who seeks a trade or military opportunity. But it's like, what is my calling and where do I belong? And so we expose them to various avenues to help them become lifelong learners.
And in this situation, you've got students here participating in a camp, learning about STEM. How is that going to help them once they get out of this camp and move into school? Because obviously both of you have experience in ways of incorporating STEM in the classroom. So how's this going to help them beyond this?
So we're both going to attend the Energy and Power Conference in Sandestin next week, and that's where all this originated with. I partnered with South Alabama Electric Cooperative, and I attended the camp 2 years ago as a participant, and last summer I went as a facilitator. So that's where it all originated. And as I was going through the curriculum, it's all free online, and it's putting energy curriculum back into the classroom so that our youth coming up will have this knowledge of energy, environmental science, and how to become survivors of our land and make these laws that are going to take care of you and I, and Shannon.
So students have an opportunity to maybe take these simple lessons that they're learning here at Troy University, and who knows, maybe someday change the world. So
that's right.
I think that sounds like a good opportunity, and here's hoping that this summer is a success and Kids at College will expand with even more interest after this camp this summer. I want to thank you both for joining me here today.
Thank you. And we need to thank our sponsors.
Okay, go ahead.
So we have South Alabama Electric Cooperative, who is our sponsor for the camp, the energy camp. And then we have John Weiss, who's coming from Huntsville. He's our NASA educator, and he is being sponsored by Wiregrass RC&D.
All right.
And of course, our College of Education.
College of Education. Well, thank you once again for joining us today, and good luck with Kids at College.
Thank you so much.
And thank you for joining us on today's edition of Trojan Talk.